This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Religious families seek an appeal in Maryland education case involving LGBTQ plus curriculum. Parents in Maryland's largest school district asked a federal appeals court to reinstate an opt-out policy for the district's LGBTQ themed curriculum. Days after a district court determined that the opt-outs are not a fundamental right, Montgomery County Public Schools originally allowed parents to opt their children out of this sexual and gender curriculum before the district removed the opt-out option in March. Becket Law, which represents Muslims, Christians, and Jewish families, say that the district's mandatory LGBTQ plus curriculum hinders their ability to raise children in a manner that is consistent with their faith. Montgomery County Public Schools introduced its gender and sexual curriculum last fall. It instructs pre-K through 8th grade students to read aloud and discuss inclusive storybooks which contain themes of sex, intersexuality, and transgenderism. A district court denied parents' appeal last week, ruling that the plaintiffs asserted due process right to direct their children's upbringing by opting out of a public school curriculum that conflicts with their religious views is not a fundamental right. The Family Rights for Religious Freedom group says teaching the material without parents, giving the parents a chance to excuse their children, infringes on their religious freedom. Becket said it expects a preliminary decision on the motion early this fall. I recall when I lived in Montgomery County, Maryland.
Okay.
And back then it was a very, very progressive county. Loved Montgomery County. I mean, just very progressive. One of the counties that was really leading in a lot of the LGBTQ stuff back when I lived there. And this, of course, certainly was before the opt-out, opt-in even came on board. You know, and I think there's something about allowing children to experience what they need to experience, and then going home and having a conversation with mom and dad.
Yeah.
You know, because I think that's where it truly, let the school expose the children. You know, I'm just thinking back to how I was raised. I was exposed to a lot of things in school that I didn't necessarily understand, agree with, or whatever, but I always found my parents or someone on my older syllabus say, hey, what does this mean? Or help me understand this better. You know, and it wasn't about not being able to ask a question in class. Like, I just needed someone to explain certain things to me. So this is a thing that I think is I hope is overturned. Allow kids to experience what they need to experience, and not just only on this topic, but on multiple topics. But then find people, you know, at home. Let's talk this through with mom and dad around the kitchen table. I remember multiple conversations we had around dinner time, and a lot of it focused on things that may have happened in school that day. So I think, you know, as progressive as Maryland was then, this is a different direction it may be focusing in now around education in the county.
I remember always, though, people were upset about Sesame Street because it showed things that were against their values, like inclusion and diversity, and and so people are afraid of anything that goes against their indoctrination. But there's a difference between information and indoctrination.
Right.
And guess what? Trans people exist, and why wouldn't we tell people that is the truth? That trans people exist, gay people exist. Now, you can still go home and be taught that those people who exist are bad. I mean, you can still instill all your prejudices that you want to, or that you can try to, but information is information. And you go to school to get information.
Yeah.
These people exist. I remember in the 4th grade, and this is in California. I mean, I grew up in the Bible Belt. And in the 4th grade in social studies, we learned about India and part in the geography. And part of India is their religious diversity and culture. So we learned about Hinduism, and we learned about Buddhism, and we learned about Islam, and we learned about Sikhism. And this is in the 4th grade, because if you're going to know about India, you got to know what's going on in India. And so they weren't trying to convert us to Hinduism, but if you're going to know about India, there's information you need. And maybe I don't know if that still happens anymore. Do you still get to learn about India? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Parents probably have to sign us.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just information. And I don't know of one person in my class that converted to Hinduism. But we got to learn about people who exist in the world. Gay people exist in the world. And if your religious values are so fragile that your children can't even know what's out there, there's a problem with your faith, not with the school system doing what they're supposed to do, which is give information.
Right. And what about the young people? What about the young trans folks? What about the young children who are just kind of discovering their sexuality? It really, to take that away diminishes their worth, their being. I truly don't remember learning anything like that. I grew up in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and I truly don't remember learning anything like that, including India and the religions and that kind of thing. It was very strict. It was very straightforward. We didn't learn that, to my detriment. My detriment. I mean, if you want to create, if you want to have children that are warm and welcoming and open to other children and other ways of being, this is the kind of thing you have to teach in the schools.
And I'm really tired of this. Because I'm religious, I have veto power over everyone else's life. I am so tired of that. If you're not serving, if you're not offering vegetarian options for the Buddhists in the cafeteria, if you're not serving fish on Fridays, if you're not refusing to serve pork ever for the Jews and Muslims and Seventh-day Adventists, I mean, it's just, it doesn't make sense that on this issue, our people don't want our kids to know that gay people exist, and that's our religious thing, so that wins. If you've ever served a pork chop at lunch, no, religious values don't win. You're saying your religious values win. And I'm so tired of that. Religious freedom is you get to practice your religion and you get to talk about it. You get to tell people what you worship. You get to invite people to come join your side, but you don't get to say no one else can do that.
Right.
And you also don't get to hamper information. The people that you think are just going to bust hell wide open, they do exist, and we get to know they exist. And of course, once you know they exist and you become friends with them, you're probably going to say, you know what, I don't even believe in any hell. I certainly don't believe my friend's going, and that's what they're afraid of.
Oh yeah, just so uncomfortable about any kind of talk regarding sexuality and gender, and this stuff just pops up constantly. Constantly.
Now, I think I'm able to have a child exposed to these types of discussions in the setting where they get factual information from a teacher or something like, and then go home. And I think, my sexuality class, I remember the teacher included to say, these are the things we're going to cover. Now go home and have a conversation with the parents about these. And I remember some kids talking about, my parents didn't know what to say, my parents didn't know this, but that was more about, okay, the setting, the upbringing.
You had a whole class?
Yeah, we had sex education class.
We had a day in algebra. We had a day in algebra. They showed a film, and then parents lost their minds about the film.
Well, I am Alabama, you're Arkansas.
I'm Pennsylvania, but I think maybe in this instance, maybe age makes a difference, because I got just a couple years on you guys. We didn't have anything like that.
Not even a PE?
No.
But you just think sometimes it's PE they do.
No, I don't ever recall that. Of course, maybe I blocked it out. Probably it's too traumatizing.
But it's one of those things like, little kid comes on, hey, mom, Johnny says he has two dads or two moms. What does that mean? Versus, let's talk about this and let me help you understand what that means for that family. But this is what we believe in our family.
We have marriage equality in this country, and sometimes people of the same gender fall in love in their families. And if you want to add to that, and P.S. God hates them. Okay, do that. I mean, that makes you a mean person, but do that.
But at least you've had the conversation with the couple, because your child will experience that somewhere down the road. At least help them have a positive experience of what they do encounter.
And if you're just tuning in, and God does not hate anybody. I mean, we're joking around a little bit. Like, there's no mean God. Don't worry about that.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. We are excited to tell you about our next adventure with our Global Fellowship. In 2024, we'll be going to where the hills are alive, as we explore Austria and Alpine Europe for Gay Oktoberfest. Space is extremely limited, so make sure to go to happeningout.travel/sunshine to reserve your space now.
Would you like to join the Queer God Squad on a special winter cruise in 2024? Well, now you can. You will visit Cozumel, Mexico, Grand Cayman, and Ocho Rios, and you can even add an open bar and Wi-Fi. Join us by going to happeningout.travel/sunshine.